Here on Wham Baam Teslacam, we've shown you over 5,000 Teslacam videos sent in by our fans, and we serve up new ones every week. Today, we're showcasing some of the craziest clips we've ever featured, so buckle up for Wham Baam Teslacam's Worst Drivers of Texas, Volume 1.
Bam, Teslacam, I hope you're satisfied.
Nathaniel was driving his brand new Model 3 Performance in San Antonio, Texas. He was in the left lane, and his exit was coming up on the right. Nathaniel saw a black pickup truck in his way, and he knew he couldn't pass in front of it, so instead, he decided to go behind it to reach the exit lane. The pickup driver swerved at Nathaniel and tried to push him off the road. Nathaniel told us the Model 3 reacted before he did and avoided an impact by swerving onto the shoulder. Nathaniel sped up and got in front of the pickup, but this made the driver furious. Nathaniel continued down his exit as planned, but what followed is like something from a horror film. The raging pickup driver followed him down the exit ramp. Nathaniel slowed down for a traffic light up ahead, but the pickup driver did not. The pickup bumped into the Tesla, pushing it forward. Thinking quickly, Nathaniel dove for a parking lot to the right, fearing the pickup would try to crush him into traffic stopped ahead. Nathaniel told us he was prepared to defend himself if the pickup driver followed him into the parking lot, but thankfully, the other driver took off. A Good Samaritan witnessed the whole thing, got the truck's license plate number, and followed Nathaniel into the parking lot. Together, they waited for the police for 2 hours, which seems like a crazy amount of time to wait when someone has already attacked you. His Tesla sustained extensive damage. Nathaniel visited a doctor for a sore neck and back, and he told us he's now filing criminal charges against the pickup driver. Yayo was heading home after his daughter's soccer practice when they decided to stop for groceries so they could celebrate the great day with a nice home-cooked meal. As he stopped for backed-up traffic, Yayo watched in his rearview mirror as the driver behind him also slowed down. Suddenly, he watched the vehicle lurch forward. A large SUV rear-ended the car, pushing it to the side before slamming into Yayo's Tesla and shoving it into the pickup truck ahead of him. Yayo checked that everyone was okay before documenting the collision. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured and police were quick to respond. Yayo's initial repair estimate is over $15,000 US. But Yayo expects his Tesla to be totaled once the body shop sees it. Predictably, the SUV driver was uninsured. Yayo expected the insurance process to be a hassle, but even so, check out how happy Yayo looks in this photo his daughter took of him right after the collision. We've seen lots of wreck photos here on Wham Baam Teslacam, but we've never seen a crash victim looking so happy. Are you sure you're okay, Yayo? What day is it? Assuming you aren't concussed, great job keeping your spirits up, Yayo. Alex had lent his brand new Model 3 to his friend Alexis so he could get to work. It was so new, in fact, that Alex hadn't even made the first payment yet. They were supposed to meet for lunch when Alex received a notification from his Tesla app that one of his tires had lost all pressure. Another driver had made an illegal left turn without checking for other traffic, colliding with Alex's Tesla and sending it spinning off the road and into a ditch. Shortly after, Alexis called Alex to inform him of the collision. Alexis didn't know what to do, so Alex quickly made his way to the scene of the wreck. Once he'd arrived, Alex witnessed the full extent of the damage while also discovering that Alexis was completely unhurt. The other driver, who'd been illegally driving without insurance, tried to put the blame on Alexis by accusing him of speeding. When the police took one look at Alex's Teslacam footage, they quickly found the other driver completely responsible. When she admitted she'd been trying to make a left turn from a right turn only lane, they gave her a citation as well. The police credited the safety of Alex's Tesla for the fact that Alexis hadn't been injured at all. They also mentioned that, considering the way it had hit the ditch, they would have expected it to roll over. Thankfully, the car's low center of gravity kept it upright after the impact. The Tesla Collision Center estimated over $35,000 US to fix Alex's Model 3 Highland, but since he has Tesla insurance, they were able to get the parts for half price. That brought the repair estimate down to about $22,000, which meant his Tesla wasn't totaled. After 4 months in the shop, it came back looking brand new. Man, Tesla insurance customers are so lucky. Psst, Tesla, please bring Tesla insurance to Washington State. Alex wanted to shout out his friend Alexis and told us he's glad he wasn't hurt in the collision. He's got no hard feelings toward his friend, and he's incredibly thankful to Tesla for making the safest vehicles on the road. This submitter was buying cleaning wipes for the Cybertruck he literally just picked up that day, and when he came out of the store, he discovered spit on the bumper cover. He reviewed the Sentry mode footage and couldn't believe his eyes when he saw that it was a store employee who'd hawked a loogie at his pickup truck. Our submitter went to the store manager and showed her his Sentry mode footage. She was very apologetic and told him she'd take care of it. He told us he's satisfied with how the manager handled the situation. This begs the question, why does the Tesla Cybertruck get so much hate? Is it the vehicle itself, assumptions about their owners, or does it have something to do with Elon? Personally, I think it's a combination of jealousy and an inferiority complex, but let us know your theory in the comments. Our next submitter is a rideshare driver. He was giving a pleasant ride to a passenger and listening to him talk about his time living in London. When they reached the destination, the passenger was having difficulty getting out of his Tesla, so he offered to help. The passenger eventually did get out of the car, very slowly, before violently slamming the door shut. Our submitter lowered the window and asked why he'd done that, but the passenger came back and threatened him. Our submitter just told him he didn't want any trouble. Once he'd gone, our submitter reported the passenger to his rideshare service and included a copy of his Teslacam footage. A Honda Ridgeline pickup truck with Texas license plate 1 Daddy drifted into our submitter's lane without signaling and smashed into the side of his Tesla Model 3. As our submitter was trying to tell the pickup driver to follow him off the highway, he sped off, making this a hit and run. The driver was a white male with long hair, possibly in his 40s, and he seems to think he's the best daddy around. Our submitter filed an insurance claim and made a police report, then continued driving his damaged Tesla for 2 months before his appointment at the Tesla Collision Center. Then one day, while driving on the highway, the Tesla shut down after a pinched cooling line caused the car to overheat. It ended up having to be towed away. Our submitter's insurance provider located the hit-and-run driver. Either they used the Teslacam footage, or they just looked up who is the #1 daddy. Sadly, the daddy was uninsured, so our submitter's uninsured motorist coverage paid for his repairs, minus his $500 deductible. After a year of trying to collect from the driver at fault, the insurance company decided it wasn't worth their time and closed the claim. Kopati was sitting in pole position at a red light in Wiley, Texas, when his Teslacam had a front row seat to a wreck that sparked a heated argument. A Camry driver turned without checking for traffic before a pickup literally ran over its hood, even going airborne for a few moments. Kopati stuck around to give a copy of his video to the responding police, and they told him that Tesla solved the crime again. Tess Larry was on his way to work when he noticed another driver turning left across oncoming traffic before noticing an oncoming vehicle and slamming on the brakes. Both drivers had green lights, but traffic going straight has the right-of-way. When the turning driver hit the brakes, she ended up stopping in the oncoming lane, resulting in a head-on collision. Tess Larry stopped and checked on the occupants and gave the driver of the black Honda a copy of his Teslacam footage for his insurance claim. Michael was using FSD supervised while driving north on the Dallas North Tollway when he was passed by a Nissan 370Z and a Tesla Model 3 that appeared to be driving together. He didn't think much of it at the time, only noting it as they continued speeding off into the distance. Suddenly, he saw a bunch of brake lights ahead. He assumed it was just traffic until he noticed debris scattered across the road before the box truck to his right hit some of it. The Model 3 from earlier was stopped just behind the wrecked 370Z. Suddenly, a tire emerged from the darkness and collided with Michael's front bumper cover. Michael doesn't know for sure when FSD disengaged, but he thinks it wasn't until after the impact. In the video, we can see the car holding center until after the impact when it began veering right. Michael circled back to the collision scene so he could get information for his insurance claim. The police officer he spoke with told him the Nissan driver claimed their tire tread was low and that they'd hydroplaned. Michael showed them his Teslacam footage and they added a copy of it to the report. That wasn't the only abandoned vehicle we'll be showing you this week. This video from Austin is even more shocking. He encountered a wrecked vehicle in the middle of the road on his way to work, and he managed to brake in time to avoid colliding with it before trying to see if he could help out. Austin turned around so he could flash his headlights to warn other drivers of the vehicle blocking the road. He then went to check on the occupants of the vehicle, but that's when he discovered it was completely empty. All the airbags had deployed, but there was no sign of intelligent life anywhere. Austin notified the authorities, and an emergency operator asked him to remain and continue warning other drivers of the obstacle. When police arrived, they searched the vehicle and came to the same conclusion that Austin had. It was a ghost car. Officers immediately began searching the area for the driver, even checking below the bridge in case they jumped, but they couldn't find any leads at all. Austin has theorized that someone may have been driving drunk, then fled on foot after wrecking their car. What do you think happened? Post your guess in the comments below. Alan is an Uber driver who was using full self-driving on his way to pick up a customer. He told us it had been a pretty chill day when he suddenly noticed a driver ahead of him turn on their hazard lights as people ran into the street. After sounding an alert, FSD slowed to a crawl, so Alan turned on his own hazard lights and took manual control. The minivan in front of him went up onto the sidewalk before taking out a street light. At first, it looked like the woman running after the car might have been locked out of it. Then, Alan realized the driver might be having a medical emergency. When he spotted a police car across the street, he flashed his lights and pointed at the minivan. The cop turned on his emergency lights and quickly reacted. Alan pointed out that medical emergencies behind the wheel are another great reason to have self-driving cars. Frederick and his wife were shopping at Marshall's when an odd bit of parking lot drama unfolded. It seemed like these two women knew the car was recording, as one of them kept trying to get inside. What do you think their plan was exactly? Perhaps they wanted to star in a Wham Baam Teslacam video. One of them even gave one of the side cameras an Oscar-worthy close-up performance while continuing to try to get into Frederick's car. Frederick is hoping Tesla owners in the Dallas metro area keep an eye out for these two, just in case they decide to audition for another episode of Wham Baam Teslacam. Alexei was driving with autopilot engaged when his Tesla suddenly hit a slippery spot in the road. As soon as he felt the car lose traction, he took over and began steering to avoid hitting the barrier, but his Tesla still slid into the ditch. Once the car had come to a stop, he assumed the damage would be massive, especially when he noticed a light pole laying in the grass. When he got out to examine his car, he was in for a welcome surprise. The damage was minimal, with only some damage to the front bumper cover and no errors reported by the car. It seems the light pole had been knocked down by someone else. Sadly, his Tesla was still solidly stuck in the mud. The driver of a pickup truck stopped and pulled him out, and he was able to continue driving home. He's since made an insurance claim to get his bumper cover repaired. Andre is an Uber driver who got a pickup request from a bar late one night. When the rider began stumbling toward his Tesla, Andre immediately suspected he was intoxicated. Andre decided to open the rear passenger door for him, as many people, especially drunk people, seem to have trouble with Tesla door handles. Suddenly, a woman who was apparently with him came running out of the bar and began banging on the front passenger window trying to get inside. Andre could barely understand what she was saying when she started pointing and hitting the guy. Andre quickly decided to close his back door and nope out of there. He reported the incident to Uber, then decided to call it a night. On his way home, he was thankful to Tesla's door engineers for saving him from what could have been a very frustrating ride. Tim was sitting at a red light when he watched an SUV driver floor it through his own red light before getting a steaming helping of instant justice. The SUV was pulled over by the police while Tim just smiled. Chance was driving with his wife when he followed a red SUV down a highway exit. Suddenly, the SUV jumped a curb and crashed into a utility pole. Chance immediately stopped and called 911 before ensuring traffic behind him was clear. He then provided assistance to the driver, who wasn't seriously injured. Police arrived within a few minutes of the collision, and Chance provided his Teslacam footage to the responding officer. The officer was thankful for Chance's Teslacam footage. He theorized that the SUV driver might have been distracted by his cell phone. If the police officer's theory is correct, there must have been something very interesting on their phone. Either that, or the driver may have fallen asleep or experienced a medical incident. If we examine the footage, it looks like the driver of the SUV proceeded in a straight line without adjusting the steering wheel, starting back at the highway exit. As they left the scene, Chance's wife excitedly exclaimed, "Yay, we finally get to submit a Wham Bam clip." The Toyota driver ahead of this submitter in the middle lane left a gap for a Hyundai Veloster to cross the road into a parking lot. The driver in the right lane, however, didn't see the Hyundai and ran into it. The driver of the Hyundai then left the scene without even stopping to check on the Toyota driver. Classy. While Lego Sailor was driving for a rideshare service, he and his passenger were shocked when they heard the roaring sound of jet engines right next to them. Lego Sailor realized that the US Navy Blue Angels were flying by in preparation for an upcoming air show. He smiled and said, "Go Navy!" Lego Sailor and his passenger enjoyed the rest of the ride, chatting about Lego Sailor's 6.5 years as a sailor in the US Navy. Brandon was driving home from a Mother's Day lunch when he started pulling out onto a busy feeder road. The driver behind him thought he'd fully pulled onto the road and was focused on oncoming traffic when, bam! Okay, the impact thankfully wasn't that hard, otherwise Brandon's Tesla would have been pushed into traffic. This story is less about the collision and more about the expensive repair that followed. Thankfully, nobody was hurt and both drivers pulled into a parking lot to exchange information. Surprisingly, the truck still worked fine. Brandon's Tesla, on the other hand, spent 5 weeks in the shop and structural damage was discovered. The final repair bill came to over $12,000 plus another $2,300 to replace the paint protection film. So much for being just a fender bender. Stan is incredibly thankful for Tesla's full self-driving technology. While taking his brother Mark to school, he told us FSD saved them from a collision. They were driving on a main road when another driver suddenly pulled out without yielding. FSD was already in use and reacted instantly, swerving smoothly to avoid a collision. Even the windshield wipers activated as if they were trying to shoo the other car away. Stan wanted to thank Tesla for keeping them both safe, and he wanted to shout out his brother Mark for staying calm during this incident. Justin and his family were headed home from church when a Model Y ahead of them was nearly demolished by a red light runner. Justin asked his son Chris, "I wonder if that's good enough for Wham Bam." Evidently it is. We're just wondering if that was the driver braking or the Tesla's automatic emergency braking activating. Tell us your theory in the comments. One clue could be the fact that the Tesla paused a bit before continuing. That might have been FSD reacting, or maybe the driver was just shocked. Sentry was trying a new restaurant when a big pickup truck came out of nowhere and nearly struck his Tesla Model 3. To top it all off, the pickup driver actually had a reserved parking space right next to the entrance. Employees even moved a sign so he could park there. So who is this mystery VIP, you may wonder? None other than Shaquille O'Neal. Sentry was actually visiting Shaq's own restaurant for the grand opening, but he had no idea Shaq would show up himself. As you can imagine, this caused quite the commotion. He also told us Shaq took photos with his fans, which was surreal. Here's a photo he took with Sentry. When he left the restaurant, he discovered that the pickup wasn't a Ford Super Duty, it was actually a Shaq Duty. Speaking of Cybertrucks, Scotty had just picked up his and his wife was following in their Model 3 when some crazy lightning lit up the sky. They both hit the record button, but Scotty only sent us the Model 3's footage, which he said was better. Actually, we think Scotty just forgot to plug in a USB drive in his new Cybertruck before taking it home, but regardless, we're so excited for the Cybertruck submissions. Keep them coming!
Wham! Bam, we got a Patreon man. Please support the show.